What's up, guys? It is Sam here from Sam's Life, and today I'm going to be speaking about something kind of ingenious that the Irish government has done, something that maybe not everybody knows about, but I say it's been in the news very so slightly over the last few years, and it's basically to do with Ireland's wealth fund. So this is their plan to turn the billions in surplus that they have into potentially trillions, something that could rival Norway's wealth fund. So what a wealth fund is when a country invests the profits of generally a natural resource into a fund. So the strategy is to basically grow this fund over years, as if you're buying like S&P 500 as an individual or as a company. This is what Norway has done with its oil reserves. And this is basically then to fund different works all over Ireland in the future that they won't have to increase the tax burden on the population. So they can basically fund this from the interest that they gain from the fund. So I was going to get into a bit about like what it looks like, how it compares to Norway's fund, and just give you a bit of information on what the government is actually doing, because they do get a lot of criticism for doing a lot of things wrong, but this is probably one of the best things that they have done in recent memory anyway. So basically what the Sovereign Wealth Fund is, it's the nation's long-term savings account built from surpluses of tax revenues, as I said, and natural resources generally. So instead of spending everything today, the country is investing in its future. So it's going to be helping future generations with pensions, infrastructure, healthcare, all that sort of stuff. And that is exactly what we do need in Ireland, because we just tend to have a little bit of an underdeveloped infrastructure when it comes to like transportation, and healthcare could be better, could be improved upon. So they definitely need to improve that. And pensions become such a problem as the population gets older that they take up a massive part of the budget, so that also has to be considered. So Norway basically made this concept famous, so they invested the oil profits and now have the largest fund in the world. You may see a lot of plaudits like with Saudi Arabia, who are spending money willy-nilly on Ronaldo or these crazy mega projects, but that's not really what Norway's fund does. It kind of operates under the radar a little bit in a smart and logical way, instead of big and bold like the Saudi Arabian one. But what is Ireland doing? So Ireland, we don't have oil, but we do have relatively smart government forward thinking, where they are putting away this corporate tax receipts excess into the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which over time will become a massive part of what we have here in Ireland. And so what their plan is going forward, so they launched this in 2024, and the fund is currently in and around the 16 billion mark, or projected to be a 16 billion by the end of 2025, which might not seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but this is what they're going to be doing. So launched in 2024, the Future for Ireland Fund is designed to receive 0.8% of GDP every year until 2035 at the moment. So they may actually continue this for a lot longer. So it's about 4.3 billion euros per annum. And the goal is basically to increase this to cover rising costs in pensions, healthcare, climate initiatives without needing to hike income tax on the lowest earners or even the highest earners. It's basically to stop that burden. It's kind of maybe sometimes people say, well, we've got 4.3 billion left over from the budget. Why aren't we fixing the roads? Why aren't we fixing this? Blah, blah, blah. This is basically a way of doing this where we can maintain like the status quo or a bit better in the future, while also trying to address them issues on the ground as much as we possibly can at the moment. So it's a good idea, in my opinion, not to be spending all of your budget every year and putting a bit away and putting it in something like this, because you will reap the rewards eventually. So it's called the Ireland Strategic Investment Fund in Infrastructure, Climate and Nature Fund. And if it gets a modest returns of 4% per year, and they continue the 0.8% of GDP contributions, projections that this fund by 2100 could reach 2.17 trillion. Bear in mind that Norway's one is in around 1.7 trillion already. There's a long way for Ireland to catch up. But it is something for the future generations. We'll probably be long gone by then, but the second or third generations people will be reaping the rewards and the benefit of this. So why does this matter? So Ireland's population is aging, the healthcare costs are rising, the pension system is basically already under pressure. This fund could reduce the future tax burden, keep services strong, and help Ireland weather financial storms. So everyone who experienced 2008 as an adult, who lost their job or was under severe financial pressure, will understand what this could do if you could just throw some money kind of on the fire and stop it from getting any worse. That is something that I think can't really be underestimated, because people would have loved to have this sovereign wealth fund back in 2008, because it would have meant it would have been a lot of a softer landing. So it also allows for like major national investment without running up the deficit, the debt. So a lot is made about US debt, UK debt. It's all over 100% of GDP. Ireland's is actually below 50% at the moment. They've still got wiggle room as a developed country, but if they could bring that debt even further down and still keep investments, this looks fantastic. Like, so this allows more money then in the future for like affordable housing, which is a major issue here. Climate transitions, education and infrastructure, and it basically means they don't have to ran up the national debt, which is a massively good thing. So what we can do here is we can compare this to Norway's fund, which has been built from oil and gas revenues since the 1990s, and Norway invests globally in stocks, bonds, real estate, tech, and owns basically 1.5% of the publicly traded companies in the world. But Ireland's model is basically slightly different. I've said we don't have oil and instead relies on economic surpluses and smart fiscal management, which we hope that the government will be able to continue to do. As there is a lot of worry with these tariffs, like, will Ireland lose a bit of its corporate tax income? But hopefully, if the status quo continues, all these receipts will continue growing as the world economy grows. So it's all looking pretty good as it stands, and hopefully these tariffs and the stuff with Trump doesn't really affect things like that. So if Ireland basically sticks to its plan, it could match or even surpass Norway's sort of fund by the end of the century without fossil fuel wealth, which is what no other country is really doing. Maybe Singapore, they don't really have natural resources, but other than Singapore, I can't think of any examples, and I haven't really come across any other ones either. So it would be nearly one of the first of its kind to do this. I know the US have started the Sovereign Wealth Fund under Donald Trump recently, but they're way behind on something like this at the moment for the world's largest economy and a skyrocketing debt level. Ireland is in a perfect position to do this sort of thing compared to other countries. So like what we want to wonder, like, can Ireland keep this up? So of course this only works if contributions continue and returns are responsibly managed. So you need a team of experts who are managing this fund. Who they get to do it, who's in charge of it, it's all going to be buy into whether this is going to be a success. But I hope that they can do this successfully and mirror Norway's success to be able then to basically invest in public works to the interest on it, which would be absolutely crazy. It'd be very, very good for everybody, like, because governments generally they would be like tempted to dip into this fund or reduce contributions to do like short-term gains, which seems to have been proven not to be what to do. Because like you've got inflation, global economic shocks, like wars breaking out. Also, they could make some poor investment decisions that could erode returns. But even at a 4%, which is a very low return, even compared to the S&P, which is averaging around 9% per year, 4% is very, very modest, and you can imagine that they would be able to get this. So basically, like, what my final kind of thoughts on this is like Ireland isn't alone on this. As I mentioned, like Singapore, UAE, even Chile also use sovereign wealth funds to secure their future. The approach creates like a long-term stability, buffers, economic shocks, and funds major national priorities without borrowing. So basically, the difference that Ireland is doing this is because it's doing it with surplus tax contributions. It could make it basically one of the most financially secure countries in Europe by 2100. But it's absolutely great if they are able to do this. And I really hope that it does come off and it does pay off. So this is just basically a synopsis of what the government is doing and what they're trying to achieve. And if they continue this, Ireland's future is looking very, very good, very, very stable, and they're going to have a lot of investment in public services because of this. So if it does grow to like an astronomical level, they could possibly look at eliminating income tax that could basically filter out and give back to all of the people. That's a far-fetched dream, but it's something they could possibly do if they do end up making so much money off the interest very, very far down the line. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and this gave you a bit of information of what the Irish government is trying to do to secure Ireland's future and to give it a bit of stability and to be able to continue investing in public works, pensions and healthcare for the next century. Thank you.